Dude, I can't believe you just drove straight home from California.
Yeah, it was quite a trip. It's pretty wild out there.
What do you mean? Wild like how?
Well, it was kind of like this.
I look in my rear view at the city of angels. 3,000 miles to go before I'm back in my old home. I packed up my gear, 'cause there's nothing for me here. Oh, it's a long road to go for the state of America. There's nowhere left to go. There's no pictures, there's no shows. All the music halls are quiet and the cinemas are closed. So I packed up my guitar in the back of Jenny's car. Oh, it's a long road to go for the state of America. All the signs said that folks must wear a mask, but it seems that was just too much to ask. I'm not trying to be a jerk, just wanna get back to work. Oh, it's a long road to go for the state of America. I saw deserts, I saw mountains, I saw pretty painted plains. I saw a mass of strangers acting like nothing has changed. And I'm thinking to myself, aren't you worried about your health? Oh, it's a long road to go for the state of America. I've seen highways and byways and deserts full of sand. I saw waving fields of corn, much more than I could stand. I saw people leaving bathrooms that didn't wash their hands. Oh, it's a long road to go for the state of America. Yes, a long road to go for the state of America. It's a long road to go for the state of America.
Let's talk.
Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe is brought to you by Maine Spirits. Learn more about the delicious spirits they bring into the great state of Maine and what you can make with them at mainspirits.com, on Instagram at Maine_spirits, or download their app for your smartphone. Stay tuned at the end of the show for Happy Hour.
Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe is also brought to you by Bull Moose, now open for safe distance shopping. Get all of your music, movies, gaming, books, and pop culture needs at Bull Moose, with dozens of locations peppered throughout Maine and New Hampshire, or shop from home at bullmoose.com.
Also by State Theater, Portland, Maine. Though State Theater is closed for concerts at present, they are still working to bring you the best music entertainment in the comfort and safety of your home. Visit statetheater.com for more information, show schedules, and merchandise.
And by the Maine Music Alliance, a Maine-based nonprofit dedicated to the preservation of Maine's independent music venues. Learn more and donate at mainmusicalliance.org.
And by Sun Tiki Studios, a top-notch rehearsal and performance space on Forest Avenue in Portland. Though closed for concerts for the time being, Sun Tiki Studios is open for safe distance rehearsals. Learn more and book time at suntikistudios.com.
Nice.
Well, welcome home.
Why, thank you. It's good to be back.
Yes. Back again.
Back again. That's right. I mean, I guess it was only a week, but still, it's the most time I've been out of the house, out of my parents' house since March.
Yeah, and not just out of your parents' house, but like out of your parents' house,
into America.
Into America. Yeah, on a plane, then driving. You flew out to Los Angeles, where you were living before this shit show.
That's right.
And then packed up your life out there and drove back.
Yeah, it's for somebody who has barely stepped outside since March. It was definitely a very large step out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
onto planes and into the city and all of the things that entails, and then into a car and across the country. And all in all, now that I'm back and I'm still healthy and all that, it was a blast. But it was definitely, nerve-wracking, I guess, going into it. And also just the whole saying goodbye for now to a life that I've spent almost 8 years building out west.
Right. Worthy of note, too, that you drove home, just so people don't think you're this wild, like, cavalier super spreader. You tested, masked, flew, tested again, then drove home with an old common friend of both yours and mine through music, Jenny Ritchie, who is the house manager and photographer at Largo in Los Angeles. Does that track?
Yeah, that's correct.
So that's cool company to have. Like, you guys have a lot of history and stuff.
Yeah, the whole thing, it worked out really well. I had informed my landlord that I'd be moving out at the end of August, and talked to my roommate and stuff like that. And but didn't really have a plan together yet as to how I would do that. Mm-hmm. And at one point, my younger brother was talking about coming with me, and but of course he is a teacher, so he was kind of scared that he'd be exposed and then have to deal with going back to school and all that stuff. So I ended up just renting a car. I just reserved a car for a one-way trip from LA to Boston. I was like, well, at least that's on the books, and it's going to commit me to going out there and doing that. But then randomly, so I was talking to another friend maybe about coming with me, and of course his schedule didn't line up with what I had reserved the car for. But then randomly Jenny reached out to me. She's been doing a photo series of artist friends of hers in LA, just, how they've been getting by and all that. And so she called and asked if I would want to participate in that. And I was like, well, I'd love to, but I'm not in LA. I'm in Maine. And she's like, oh, well, I'm coming to Maine next week. And I was like, oh, are you now? I was like, and she was like, yeah, I'm planning on driving. And I was like, well, I was also planning on driving to Maine next week.
Wow.
And so that just worked out that conversation all of a sudden turned into, okay, we're both driving across the country. Why don't we do it together? And I had offered to, I was like, I already have a rental car. You can tag along and whatever, all that. And she's like, well, I'd like to drive my own car because, I want to have my car when I'm home and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, how about I'll cover gas and hotels? She's like, deal.
Nice.
So we took her vehicle, and I covered the travel expenses, or the primary travel expenses. And here we are, back safe and sound.
I feel like the chances of finding somebody to travel with, even to the same part of the same town at the same time, is rare, let alone somebody who is coming from one of the furthest away cities to Maine at the same time. That's crazy. And let alone not, like, you could have done a lot worse than Jenny.
Yeah, for sure. I mean? No, it was meant to be. Yeah. Because also, obviously you and I have done a lot of traveling across the country together. And
indeed.
Last summer I did 2 back-to-back tours where it was just like circled the country twice in a row. And
you were out with, was that with Elijah and Spose respectively?
That is correct. Or Spose and Elijah. But yes. And it was just one of those things when that whole thing was done. I remember talking to my mom and just being like, it would be really great to, at some point in my life, travel across the country without a show to get to, or like I need to be in this place at this time, because there's all those signs for things on the side of the road that you're like, oh, that'd be really cool to pull over and see that, but
like the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota.
Exactly. So yeah, strangely enough, this trip kind of became the fulfillment of that wish, which due to unfortunate circumstances nationwide, but all of a sudden, here I am driving across the country with a photographer who has a great eye for things. Like, that's one of the things I was telling her is like, there's so many things I've driven past, or like sites that I've been to that I don't recognize like how beautiful they are or how unique they are until I see the way a photographer captured it. And then I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like, I was there. Why didn't I see that like that? And so, yeah, traveling with somebody who has that eye and can pick out the beauty in things on a deeper level than just like, oh, that's nice, which is the way I look at things. It was a really great way to finally have a chance to see the country. And we stopped at national parks and definitely pulled over at a lot of random roadside stuff, like, hey, that looks cool, let's go check it out.
So you drove across the country and still experienced it via Instagram. Her Instagram.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Actually,
it was incredible. I just saw that 5 minutes ago, but it just wasn't. Just didn't hit me.
Actually, I had a few days where I was like a rising social media star just because of all the things. Yeah, I got a couple good pictures and made a couple good Instagram stories, and all of a sudden it was like I'm getting hundreds of likes, hundreds of views, like within minutes on my things. I was like, that's it, I've made it. I'm going to become an influencer.
Oh, good.
And
influencer.
What am I, a bad influencer?
Yeah. Like, oh, well, you and I just signed up for, we thought it was time to, like, make it official with an Instagram account. And one of the two options, like, one was like, you're a business, and the other one's like, you're an influencer. And I'm like, ugh. I guess that, can I just be a business? Like, I'd rather just be a hashtag influencer. I don't know.
I like that that's like a thing that you can be now, like not just an influential person, but like, what do you do? Oh, I'm an influencer.
I influence people.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man. I mean, I'm, as far as like all social media offenses, like I stand guilty as charged on all of them. So I at one point or another, in some form or another, I have definitely like used social networks as like my bully pulpit, and I am so far distanced from that I look back, like, you have your Facebook memories there or whatever.
Oh yeah. I
look back on some of them. I'm like, who the fuck did I think I was? Nope.
Yeah. Oh well.
What am I then?
We're not running for office. So at least we're not running for office or hosting a big awards show.
Yeah. Well, no, not stuff like that, but like,
yeah, I know.
but more so like just the here's my news outlet, like my Facebook page is like CNN or something. Here's what I think. Like, what's that guy Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes?
Yeah.
Or Fred Nutter for a local tip. That's our opinion. We welcome yours. But I don't know. I just post about things that I'm doing or things that I like. But yeah, the term influencer makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
certainly
it makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yes. Okay. Good. Same page. Same team.
But there's a minute where I was like, could this be?
Oh yeah,
I just posted this and like 100 people have already responded to it.
Oh yeah, I think I became more popular because of your road trip.
Nice,
just because I know you.
And I tagged you in a handful of posts, so there we go.
I felt very influenced.
Good.
So like, I think you were umming. So
go on. I want to let you. I want to let you finish your thought.
Well, my thought was that what. You, as you referenced earlier, we have traveled this country many a time together, and but it's been a while for me. Like, I haven't gone on any full scale tours in a long time. I kind of got burnt out for a while, and took a break from all of that kind of activity. And actually, just as I was ramping up and getting ready to go back out with the new band, this horse shit happened, so that's not an option. So I am like very curious, especially through the eyes of somebody who saw it through the eyes of a photographer on the road. Like, what's it like out there now? Like, I pretty much am now aware of what it's like between my parents' house, for distant visits, and the grocery store. And the occasional camp spot up here. But like, other than that, I haven't really done shit. or been anywhere. Certainly not America.
I hadn't even seen the grocery store really. Like, you know, my parents are still doing the curbside and you know, just trying to avoid going into places where there's people. Even though in Maine it seems like, or at least, you know, here anyway, when I have been out and seen people, it seems like people are acknowledging that there's a pandemic and wearing masks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why we have low rates up here.
Exactly.
That and we're not as populous as Los Angeles, for instance.
And that was the big thing was, well, first of all, passing through the airport, I was so nervous about flying. That I was more nervous about going through the airport and all that stuff than I was about driving back. And my thought process was that driving back, it's like, you know, you're in the car with just the person you're traveling with. You can try to keep your distance from people at gas stations and rest stops. But it turned out that, and in the airport, you know, you're standing in line. And when I flew back in March, it was such a shit show at the airport. I mean, everybody was panicking. It's, you know, back when everybody was buying all of the toilet paper that was ever produced. So I remember being in
the great toilet paper shortage of 2020.
That's right.
That's how this will be remembered.
Yeah, when I flew back in March, it was just, the airport was packed, and they were already recommending the 6 feet of social distancing and stuff. However, I'm standing in the security line. There's a guy standing so close to me, I can feel his breath on my neck. Ugh. You know, the TSA guys are just using the same gloves to pat everybody down. Oh, yeah. And for some reason, they're patting everybody down. I'm used to getting pat down by TSA because I always get pulled aside. I mean, I can't imagine why. But for some reason, I always get selected for the extra screening.
Subsequently, I have never been pulled aside for the extra screening.
Strange. In March, they were patting down everybody, and it wasn't, and it was that was exactly the time when we were reading don't touch anything. You can catch it from touching surfaces. Don't. And so I'm just this is gross. This is gross. Everywhere is gross. People are gross. Stay away. This time around, my flight was out of Boston at 7 a.m. I got there at probably 10 after 6. There was nobody in the airport. I didn't have any bags to check. I'd already checked in online. I got to the security. I was through security in 5 minutes. Walked up to my gate. There was nobody in line at the gate. I just scanned my thing, walked right onto the plane. I was in, I think, the 16th row, and there was nobody behind me on the rest of the plane behind me. So, and it was the same thing when I got to Los Angeles. Got off the plane. There was slightly more people in the airport. I did see a couple people talking on their phones with their masks down. That was the first time I'd seen people without masks, but still there were not that many people there. I walked straight through, got outside, and then I was nervous about the shuttle to the rental car place, but it was the same thing. The shuttle pulled up. There was nobody on it. I got on. I think there were 2 other people on the shuttle. And then I got to the rental car place. There was nobody in line there. I walked right up. It was the smoothest travel experience I've ever had. I did wear a mask for 9 hours straight. I didn't even pull it down to sip water or have snacks. It was basically just a walkthrough of the whole experience. No lines, just go right up, do your thing. So surprisingly, that was easy. But then when I got to LA pretty early in the morning, and it was good to be back. I mean, I've definitely missed the city and missed my apartment and missed my neighborhood and stuff like that. But it was immediate, how different the vibe in that city was. And it was just as relieved as I was to be back, it was also depressing to just kind of see the, just the, I don't know, I don't want to call it an empty shell, but it just, it felt hollow. Just
more so, LA felt more hollow than usual, which is saying something.
Well, usually it's a little bit shallow.
Oh, my bad. Yes, You're right.
This time it was hollow.
A bunch of people pretending that they're chill about stuff. Meanwhile, they're just trying to destroy you.
Well, I was living in Echo Park, and really close to Echo Park Lake. And I usually, when I was living there, I would every single day go out and take a walk around the neighborhood, walk around the park. And, all of when you see commercials about LA or, even TV shows that have like the establishing shot, a lot of times you see the Echo Park Lake with the fountain. Like that was my neighborhood. And so my roommate was like, whatever you do, don't go walk around the park. It's depressing. He's like, it's become a full on like Hooverville homeless community, and the people hanging out at the park don't wear masks. And he warned me. I went anyway.
So can I interrupt there? What's a Hooverville?
So like during the Great Depression, when basically New York City Central Park became like just everybody was living in the park like in tents.
Oh, it's like Tent City kind of vibe.
Tent City, yeah,
yeah. Because we have, I mean, there's an amount of that kind of vibe happening here in Portland because there's a lot of displaced people right now, inordinate amount.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the homelessness in LA has straight up been an epidemic anyway, and it's one of those things I've seen getting worse in the time that I live there, and I have lived there, and I don't know what the city has been doing to address it or like why it's getting worse, but this was like immediately it was just like wow, like it so much worse than it was. And actually, Jenny reminded me while we were driving, she was like, you know, homeless shelters are closed right now. Libraries and bus stations and the places where normally, you know, homeless people would go during the day to get out of the sun and maybe try to get money or whatever. Like all of those places are closed. Like they have literally nowhere to go. Like, and so they're just living in the park, and there's not like anything the city can do about it right now.
Yeah. When I think about of course, it's a tender topic, right? And when I think about, there's lots of things challenging America right now, you know, which we don't need to list. We know what they are.
Yes, we
and
do.
when I think about a lot of them, they're huge and they need to be addressed. But I can see, you know what I mean, in my brain, I can see a way, a path. There's a path. If we, you know, if we did this would get, this would get better. But like with the homelessness, it's such like I don't. Fixing that problem is so above my pay grade. It just, when I think about homelessness, I get really bummed and frustrated, and
it's really sad.
It sucks.
Also, you know, like we've heard a lot of progressive political candidates in the past handful of years, you know, talking about the wealth gap, finally drawing attention to that. And there is no place where that is more obvious than in Los Angeles. Like even in the before times, you could be at a stoplight and the car next to you would be like, you know, this $200,000 sports car. And then also on the corner is like a whole homeless community. And it's like the value of that car, what that money could do for all of these people. But instead it's just a vanity thing for this guy to drive around in. And he feels fine about it. You know, and it's the same thing. Like you go downtown, there's these huge, like luxury, like whatever apartment buildings that probably cost, you know, whatever ridiculous amount to live in them. And then right outside, there's people begging for change. And it's just like, how is it that right next to each other, some people have so much and other people have literally nothing?
It's like medieval. It's kind of medieval.
Yeah, it's
in
crazy.
That way. Yeah, and I also think an aspect of it is that, you know, I'm not one to be like, okay, boomer, but like the boomer generation, like they still don't want to talk about mental health. It makes them very uncomfortable, and which is true for us as a nation, I think, and until which point we can look at it and start treating it. I don't know. This again. I want to back away from it because I don't know the solution. I don't know what it's one of those things where like, man, I want to like pitch in and help, but I sometimes I don't feel like I know how or what even we're doing without like I feel like it's just yet another systemic flaw that we need to correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that struck me like almost immediately. It was like, wow, it feels really sad around here. And then I got in a rental car and just started driving around the city and just going by like, you know, I drove by my favorite movie theaters like the Vista and the Egyptian and the New Beverly, and just seeing them all closed. And then I drove by, you know, a bunch of the music venues all closed, you know, like, and even like even Hollywood Boulevard by the Man's Chinese Theater, where it's usually packed with people and, people in superhero costumes posing for pictures and stuff, just empty. It just within those first like 4 or 5 hours that I was back in LA, I was just like, I'm making the right decision. Like, I need to leave right now. Like, in a way, I think I was hoping I'd get back there and be like, okay, I'm going to stay here and just ride it out. But, it became apparent that it was time to go for now. I hope it's temporary, but
yeah, I mean, I think you don't want to be like hopelessly hopeful, but I think there'll be a time. There'll be a time where these things will. I mean, are live music events gone for eternity? I really don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Feels like it. I mean, the thought that we're only 6 months into what we were promised would be at least a year of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's an exercise in mental endurance to just be like, okay, pause. We're still in the phase 1 of this, even though it seems like we should be coming out of it. So when you're out there, you get to your apartment, and is your roommate there?
He is.
And were you able to interact?
I was. I mean, that was the other thing. It's like, both of us wore masks when we were in the common space and stuff like that. Like, we didn't, and that actually is one good thing about LA. Like, the sidewalks were mostly empty. The people that were on the sidewalks, like just hanging out, didn't appear to be wearing masks. But like, when I went to like the grocery store right by our apartment, everybody in there had a mask on, and I mean, it was still chaos. Like, basically, the grocery store was what I was expecting from the airport.
Interesting.
Whereas like, but at least people were like trying to follow the rules, but it was just so packed. It's like there were more people just in the grocery store than I had seen collectively since in a very long time.
Wow.
Like, yeah, that was the experience and that's the other thing with like that was kind of made it clear that I need to leave LA. It's like there are so many people here,
so many,
and in a highly contagious viral pandemic, like it's just not good for that many people to be in the same geographical area cluttered together like that.
I remember I have a very distinct memory of which we've talked about on the show before, but like I remember like, where were you when these moments when the Challenger exploded, when 9/11, I remember that whole morning very distinctly, like all the details about it, or a lot of them. And for this, like my marker on this was when you reached out to me basically saying like, should I come home? I was like, yes, like immediately. This is going to be bad.
So that day, the governor shut down the state. I want to say that was March 15th. It was March 15th because I flew home on the 16th.
Beware the Ides of March.
That's right. Yeah, I bought my ticket that night after talking to you and a couple other people and flew home the next day. But the governor, when he shut down the state, was like, this could be about 3 weeks. And then as I was packing up my stuff, I was listening to NPR, and they were like, this could be about 8 weeks. And I was still like, all right, I can ride that out, whatever. I still bought a one-way ticket back to Maine, but I was just like 3 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. It's, which suggests to me that at that point, people with scientific know-how were saying, we're theorizing that if we hunkered down for 3 to 8 weeks, we could contain this.
Yep.
And obviously that did not play out that way.
It didn't.
And I think it turns out it did not. And I think that's, one of the big takeaways of this cross-country trip was how many people across the country are not taking this seriously. I mean, obviously I'm judging that by everything that I saw along the highways, but that's where people are traveling from state to state.
Right.
Like, I take it personally,
well, you should, because you're out of work.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I'm offended by it, like by the amount of people that aren't taking this seriously, because I just want to start playing music again. Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we can talk about your experience going from LA to Maine. Does that sound good?
Sounds fantastic. Why, hello there, friends. It's your old pal, Zach Jones, and I am here with your Bull Moose Minute for the week beginning September 8th. This week at Bull Moose on Blu-ray 4K Ultra HD, it's the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection. That's right, the Master of Suspense, with 4 films in this box, looking the best that they've ever looked before. 4K Ultra HD, to be exact. We have in this box Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, The Birds, all excellent, excellent, excellent movies. And not only do we have these movies, but it includes 2 versions of Psycho. There is Psycho Uncut, which is the extended version of the movie as seen in theaters in 1960, exactly as intended by Alfred Hitchcock, and it's now available with additional footage for the first time ever. I was actually lucky enough to see a 35mm print of the original theatrical cut while I was in Los Angeles. Those were the days. But this collection also contains Psycho, the widely seen version of it, which was edited for content and subsequently used for TV broadcasts, theatrical re-releases, and home entertainment over the last 60 years. So you'll get the original version of Psycho in addition to all of that other excellence. Also has hours of bonus footage, hours of bonus features, documentaries, expert commentaries, interviews, screen tests, storyboards, and much, much more. I spent a lot of time with an earlier Alfred Hitchcock box set collection that was loaded with features, and the documentaries and all that stuff was almost as excellent as the movies themselves. So every time they do this for Alfred Hitchcock collections, it's totally worth it, and you should check it out at Bull Moose this week. Also available this week at Bull Moose, a brand new record from Suzanne Vega called An Evening of New York Songs and Stories. Widely regarded as one of the foremost songwriters of her generation, Suzanne Vega emerged as a leading figure of the folk music revival of the early 1980s. On An Evening of New York Songs and Stories, Vega revisits some of her most New York-centric repertoire in a stunning live recording. Recorded at New York's famed Cafe Carlyle in early 2019, the album includes both familiar songs like Luca and Tom's Diner, and deep cuts from her catalog like Frank and Ava and Ludlow Street. So look for An Evening of New York Songs and Stories by Suzanne Vega at Bull Moose. It's going to be available on a 2LP set or on CD. With locations peppered throughout Maine and New Hampshire, Bull Moose are there for all of your multimedia needs. Your music, your LPs, your CDs, your movies, your DVDs, your Blu-rays, your books, your posters, your coffee mugs with band logos, your knickknacks, your paddywhacks, you name it, Bull Moose has got it. They can be found at bullmoose.com, where you can browse their selection right there, or you can look for the location nearest to you, where they are open for retail with safety protocols in place for the thing that we're currently going through. They're on Instagram at Bull Moose Stores. They're on Facebook. So go to Bull Moose. Again, bullmoose.com. I'm Zach Jones. This has been your Bull Moose Minute. A thank you.
So you packed up all your shit, and did you end up like getting rid of a lot of stuff, or did you pretty much just pack everything up and bring it back?
I didn't have a lot to get rid of. I mean, I've lived in, I think, I've had 4 different apartments in Los Angeles, and, I moved out there, I flew out there initially, so, like, all of the stuff that I have out there is stuff that I've sort of, like, collected when I've been there, and it's all stuff that, like, I have out of necessity, not out of vanity. I still can't afford that $200,000 sports car, so...
You'll get there.
Yeah, I'll get there. But, yeah, so it's mostly, like, instruments and then basic survival stuff, like... I obviously got rid of my bed and mattress and stuff, but other than that, it was like, don't have a ton of clothes, and then just guitars and instruments and stuff. So we fit pretty much all of my belongings into Jenny's SUV.
Wow.
So that worked out, and there's still barely enough room left for the things that she wanted to bring east, so it worked out.
So she, I assume, like, she picked you up and then you hit the road.
Yep. So we took off on Saturday morning. So she came over on Friday. We packed up her car. And then I had a rental car to return. So basically she met me at like 6 a.m. the next morning at LAX, dropped off the rental car, and we hit the road. And yeah, as I said at the beginning, it was nice because we basically said right off the bat, we're like, we're not in a hurry to get back. You know, whether it takes us 3 days or 6 days, we don't care. We just don't want to get sick. It was basically our agreement.
Right.
So yeah, the very first day, like we left pretty early in the morning. Our first stop was. You know, just outside of Las Vegas, there's like those stacks of painted rocks.
Yes.
That we've always driven by and never stopped at.
Yes.
we stopped at those.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It went great. It went great, but it was also a sign of what was to come.
Okay.
So basically, it turns out those are called the 7 Magic Mountains. It's an art installation that is supposed to be... something about like where human nature meets natural nature. And so yeah, there's just stacked huge rocks that are all painted in fluorescent colors, and surprisingly, you know, it was like 100 and something degrees out. And was it a holiday weekend or something? I can't remember. Maybe it was just the weekend, but for some reason it seemed like there were a lot of people there. I mean, it's just outside of Vegas, so I guess it makes sense. But that was the first taste of like, oh, look at that. There's a lot of people walking around these things. And, you know, most of them are clearly not taking the pandemic seriously.
Well, Vegas pretty famously came out, or their leadership did, right out of the gate, being like, nope, don't care.
Yeah, we got to get these casinos open. People want to play those slots.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was definitely like the first sign. And obviously it's outdoors and it's open air and stuff like that, so we kind of walk around and keep our distance. But then like as we were headed back to the car, like I stopped to read about it at the little plaque thing that, you know, just tells about the installation, and that was like the first taste of like people walking up right behind me and trying to read over my shoulder and like breathing on me. I was like, go away, like, haven't you been watching the news? Do you know what's going on right now?
It's hard enough when you're surrounded by people who do give a shit. Like you can you can still end up in like very close quarters situations, but like when you're around people who are like deniers, not to take us out of the America road trip, but 4th of July weekend, my wife and I went camping up in the Blue Hill area, and I've been like I do take it seriously. Period. You know, I wear a mask when I'm in public, wash my hands, all that kind of shit. And, you know, at the beginning, it was like probably more stress than I needed to be putting on myself. But now I'm kind of like in like a channel, but I'm still taking it seriously. I don't go to huge parties and all that kind of shit. I miss my friends. I'm making a mad sacrifice, both professionally and personally, to do this. So to kind of speak to your point, like when you see people not taking it seriously, it's like, man, come on. But then, so we went camping in this location. Was, you know, very like the people that run the spot are super nice and everything, but it was very clear that was weirdly enough, like in the woods was like the most people I'd been around, you know, and I'm like, what is happening here? Like, why are you so close to me? And so being around people that do not share the same values or perhaps level of respect or fear for what is a scientifically proven contagious virus for which there is no cure, is like there's so many levels to that frustration and confusion. So many levels.
And how it's universally acknowledged at this point that our country is handling it as poorly as possible.
Well, why?
Yeah, and I saw nothing but evidence to back that up while I was out there in the behavior of other people.
Well, you know what, dude? I can say unequivocally that I am tired of winning.
Yes, as am I. It has been way too much winning. Oh, let's stop this.
He wasn't kidding. I am tired of it. We are winning so much at shit that I never thought that we would win at.
I mean... Yeah, I always thought it was a good thing to be in first place. Turns out,
no.
But on a little bit more positive note, that same day, our next big adventure that day was Bryce Canyon National Park.
Oh, wow.
In Utah. And that's another spot that, you know, is kind of been on the radar, but you don't have time to stop at a national park when you're on your way to a gig.
Well, we did a couple. I distinctly remember us doing Joshua Tree, which was great.
We did, but But remember, we didn't plan out enough time for it.
Oh,
we'll take a quick jaunt through Joshua Tree.
Oh yeah. No,
It's
sadly the two memories of Joshua Tree are this is beautiful, and then also fooling Andrew into thinking there was a rattlesnake behind him with a shaker. It's so mean.
And also just random people walking.
Yeah. God. That didn't do my karma any good. But then like all of a sudden it was like, okay, we should get going, but we had it was 100 miles to get out of this slow grade 8% grade decline on switchbacks. And I was driving and it was stressful, but then I also remember feeling really bad for everyone in the back who was just getting tossed back and forth.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody get sick?
I can't remember. I feel like it would have been me if somebody did, but I did not. But I did not get sick that time.
Weirdly, a theme on this show. Yes, we did that in Hoover Dam. I remember we took the time to do the Hoover Dam. But
right.
we never did get the time to hit any Yosemite or.
We actually did. I think when you went back to Portland, Oregon, and we drove from San Francisco to Nashville, we stopped at the Grand Canyon. But we didn't do the official Grand Canyon tour or anything like that.
Right, you did Mount Rushmore too, didn't you?
Well, I never got to do that. They did that when we were in LA.
Oh, right, on that fucking trip, which we also referred to. On
Yes.
this show has only been referred to as that fucking trip.
That fucking trip.
Yeah. And to paraphrase, the reason is because Zach and I we were hooked up with this producer who had a string of hits with bands I can't even remember.
They were all bands that had black bangs down to their eyes and black eyeshadow.
Sure, that was our era. That's what we were up against. but I don't know why everyone thought that would be a good match for us. But
I think we broke his string of gold records.
Yeah, we sure did. We broke it hard. But my takeaway from that recording session was that you and I missed our flights because we were in the airport bar.
Yeah, drinking way too much.
Oh my God, that was so dumb.
I have a picture of us somewhere with huge steins of beer and
yes. Well, they were funny because they were huge steins of beer with regular sized handles. So that was very funny. Yeah, it was some deal. It was $5 for a stein of beer and some sort of liquor.
Yeah, it was a shot and a beer thing, except for the shot was just a glass of booze.
God, the thought of that right now makes me pissed. Yeah, we managed to miss our flight, and we get down there and we work with this guy. My biggest takeaway from it, aside from us being idiots and everything you just said, was that the producer was. I've never heard anybody talk more shit about other people than this guy, and I'm just oh man.
Yeah, you don't even know us. Why are you
we're not buddies?
Airing all this dirty laundry?
What are you gonna say about us when we leave? They'll never make it. Yeah. So you are now visiting some of the national parks that you and I never had time to do.
Yes. That was a reminder of how beautiful nature can be when left to its own devices. Looking at the gorgeous red spires of Bryce Canyon National Park, and so that ate up most of that first day. I mean, which we welcomed. That was the plan. Was let's go do this, and even. Unlike at Joshua Tree, when we were we'll take a quick pass through Joshua Tree.
It's a quick jaunt.
The woman at the gate for Bryce was if you do this quickly, it's going to take you 2 hours.
Right.
Right up front.
Yeah.
And we decided to do it less than quickly and actually stop at every single lookout and
that's great.
Take pictures and admire nature's beauty. So we didn't make it out of Utah on day one. Day two, we went to Arches National Park, which is another spot that I've always wanted to go to. I mean, Arches is in all of the commercials for SUVs.
Yeah. Which is why you love it.
Yeah. Anytime there's this vehicle is built tough. It's you see yeah.
Isn't it also the backdrop of a lot of John Ford's movies?
Well, there's Monument Valley. It is in Utah, and that's in a ton of John Ford movies.
Okay,
stuff like that. But yeah, sorry. But I'm sure. Yeah, like Arches reminded me of the intro to Last Crusade, Indiana Jones' Last Crusade, when he's like, with the Boy Scouts. Also, like the arches themselves look like what the set designer of that episode of Star Trek with the Guardian of Forever was probably envisioning, except for he had to build it out of cardboard on a small.
It ended up looking
set.
more like McDonald's golden arches.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it was like, and that became pretty much our entire second day. Like we barely made it out of Utah in 2 days of driving. But again, totally worth it. And it's just like, yeah, look at nature. Look how beautiful the world is when people just leave it alone. When people just look at it rather than interacting with it. It's
tossing their styrofoam cup on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then what did we get? So day 3 turned into mostly Colorado. Not only are there wildfires burning in California, in the Los Angeles County, which I guess I should point out another thing about fires in Los Angeles County, I guess while I'm on this, is that whenever those are happening, obviously they're terrible, but Los Angeles County is huge. And when I was living in Echo Park, I was close to downtown. Like those fires were so far away from me that I never saw them, never smelled smoke, never. So people on the news are like, fires in LA, and they call and they're like, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? Like if I didn't watch the news, I would not know that LA County is on fire right now. However, when we were driving into Colorado, Colorado is having wildfires right now. West of Denver, all of I-70 was closed. And as we were approaching the point where the highway was closed, it was like the smoke was so thick, there was like zero visibility. I'd never seen anything look so apocalyptic before. But of course that turned into, now we have to connect to Interstate 80, which is north of Interstate 70, at a point where there's no direct route. So Google's got us going on all these state highways or like windy mountain roads. So that became our driving at night down, 7% downgrades for 10 miles at a time with like extreme curves. That was the point of the trip. That was like, it's dark out, tired, and the most like treacherous driving conditions. But alas, we made it safely. And then it was
so when a question. You're stopping and staying in hotels?
We were.
Yeah. What's that vibe?
So that vibe was also kind of scary because that whole I'm going into a spot and trusting that the people that work here are taking this seriously and doing stuff. So that was like, we'd go on hotels.com and look for the places with the decent prices and the high ratings.
But not too decent a price.
Yeah, not too decent. Yeah. The nice like in between this
make it hurt a little bit.
Exactly. And then, the first couple nights, like I called and was like, before we booked, and was just like, what are you doing for, like, what's your protocol right now for the pandemic? And it always seemed like they were reading from a script because they said everything that you wanted to hear. And then it was just like, I don't know how well this is being adhered to, but they're saying all the right things.
Well, they're not even doing necessarily. I mean, I don't want to like say like all hotel, personnel or cleaners are not doing their jobs, but like, we've stayed in a lot of hotels. Like they're not necessarily adhering to what they say they do during normal times.
Exactly. Yeah. There's been plenty of times where you walk in and see the gross thing immediately.
Oh yeah.
You're like, how did they rent out this room?
Yeah. We've seen some gross things in hotels.
Yes.
You and me, my friend.
We have indeed.
I'm not going to call this a family program, but I'm still not going to talk about what we've seen in hotel rooms. Yeah.
But this was it seemed like staff for the most part were taking it serious. I mean, there was one late night check-in where the guy behind the counter wasn't wearing a mask, but he also looks like he might be like the owner's son who gets the late night shift because the owner was like, I can't get my other people to work and nobody will come in, so don't worry about it.
Right.
But even in that situation, like they had the plexiglass, in front of the desk, so it's not like he was just breathing all over me. He was breathing into the glass, I guess. But for the most part, it seemed like hotel staff in most of these places were at least trying to put on the face of taking it seriously, whether they were or not. And of course, we were armed with, the aerosol Lysol spray. So like the first thing we would do when we got into a room is just like hose the place down with Lysol spray.
Yeah, all the the doorknobs and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Did you bring your own like pillow and sleeping bag?
I didn't. I mean, I had my sleeping bag with me, but I didn't end up taking it out of the car at all. I ended up just it was more just like we'd come in and just soak the place with Lysol spray. I mean, including like pull the covers back on the bed and and just spray everywhere.
I mean, disclaimer too. Like this is. Zach and I are not running a health program here. Then when I ask you these questions, like I always ask people like what they're doing, like especially like other people I know that are taking it seriously, because I think there's a line for me personally. There's a line where it's like you want to take it seriously, but past that line, you're just panicking.
Yeah.
I
think I mean also the two of us both suffer from a little bit of like that obsessiveness over like. Haven't washed my hands enough times to leave the stove on. I need to go all the way back and check.
Yeah. You and I have different styles of OCD, I would say. But turns out, my therapist said, she was like, "Well, this is actually kind of a good time to have OCD."
yeah. Actually, my mom said that before I was traveling too. She's like, "I know you'll be safe because
no one will be
worrying about that stuff." Yeah.
He said, "Thanks, blah, blah, blah," as he's gargling bleach.
Well, the president said this was a good idea.
Yeah, right. Oh, God.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up.
No, it's all right. Whatever. He's an asshole. So you're chilling in hotels, and that's going mainly okay. And now where in Colorado are we?
So, I mean, day 3 ended up being basically just getting through Colorado, which was driving. I guess the night before was driving up through the windy mountain passes, just trying to connect to the next highway. So actually, our third day after 2 national parks was all the boring stuff. Like you get past Colorado and you're just in Nebraska, and then Iowa.
As far as I remember, the 2 highlights of that drive, those states you just mentioned, are Lincoln, Nebraska, and Iowa City, Iowa.
Yeah, which when you're just passing on the highway, you don't actually
don't see them,
encounter either of those things.
Yeah, you can't enjoy either of those cities for what they are now. Yeah,
corn, hay rolls, more corn, some hay rolls,
big, huge cross on the side of the road, well lit, visible for 30 miles.
Oh, look, a mini version of Brazil's Christ the Redeemer.
Yeah.
Hey, look, another one of those.
Yep.
Hey, look, another one of those.
More corn.
More corn.
A cross made of corn. Corn cross.
That was our most dedicated travel day, was that third day passing through the flat states. And then we did, you spoke of the world's biggest ball of twine earlier. We did not see that. But our third day,
Weird Al.
Yeah. We passed through Ohio on the third day, and we did stop and see, among other things, the world's biggest rubber stamp, which is a sculpture in Cleveland. We stopped and saw a few other. So Jenny is also really good at. There's a website called Atlas Obscura, which apparently everybody else but me has known about.
I hadn't heard of it.
People were commenting on it on my Facebook posts and stuff too, so other people have. I hadn't. But you can type in whatever location you are, and it will give you crazy things to stop and see. And, at a time where we don't want to go indoors, that worked out great. We stopped in Cleveland, saw the world's largest stamp, which is... and we also saw there's a statue dedicated to Jesse Owens. And also just outside of Cleveland, we stopped at this... in the 1920s, there was a design. Euclid, Ohio, is where it is. There's a bridge to nowhere called the Hildendale Bridge, and in the 1920s there was designs to build a housing development, like in the woods, and they built this like elaborate, curved bridge over this over this gully or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's like a beautiful stone bridge over a gully.
Yeah, to get to the neighborhood, and then the Depression happened. And the bridge was finished. The development never came. And apparently, in all of the time that has happened since then, the development has never come. So there's just this bridge in the woods that has never been driven over. Just for almost 100 years, it's just been decaying to time. But we went and saw that
to nowhere.
So that was really cool. And it was pretty it felt like the perfect setting for a horror movie. Like, I can't believe it hasn't been used in a horror movie or a post-apocalyptic movie.
You wonder if it has, though.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I guess I should type it into IMDb and see if it shows up as a location on any film.
That sounds like a wonderful 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were there at it was probably 8 p.m. by the time we got there, so the sun was on its way down, and it was just extra spooky,
Cool.
all the sounds of nature were starting to come out.
The sounds of nature.
Yeah. And we were losing our light, and so it was just we're in this creepy spot, and so I was about to say that was our last big sightseeing thing, but that's not true at all. Day 5. Again, this is so the past couple summers, when Elijah and I have driven across the country, we usually do that. We play a handful of gigs on the West Coast, and then the next date is on the East Coast.
For reference, Elijah Ocean is a country musician, Los Angeles based, but like us, from Maine.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah, and so we always do that. Thank you. The listeners appreciate it.
Yes. The listener.
We do the quick, we just got to get across the country in 3 days. Let's just go.
Right.
So this was the first luxurious 5-day trip across the country.
Which is still actually cranking it out pretty fast.
That's true. But our final day coincided with National Women's Equality Day.
Interesting.
Which apparently is also national, or it's either the day before or the same day as National Dog Appreciation Day, which is really poor of whoever planned that.
Yeah.
Because everything that I saw on social media was referencing, just people posing with their dogs, like, oh, I love my furry canine friends. I was like, wait, it's also National Women's Equality Day.
Oh, boy.
Which, it celebrates women achieving the right to vote. But we happen to be passing through upstate New York.
Is it on the day that women's suffrage passed?
That is correct.
Gotcha.
Or which I believe is the 19th Amendment, which denies the government the right.
Yeah.
Denies the government the right to deny somebody the right to vote based on their sex. But yeah, we happen to be passing through upstate New York, and Seneca Falls, New York, is where the very first women's rights convention was held and conceived. Where Elizabeth Cady Stanton wrote the what do they call it, the Declaration of Sentiments, where basically she took the Declaration of Independence and kind of changed that around to adhere to what women's rights needs at the time. So we stopped at all the sites in Waterloo, New York, and Seneca Falls, New York, where the women's rights movement was founded and conceived, and where the first convention was held and stuff. So that was our last day. That was our last day on the road. We made it back to Maine that night. So that was a nice way to wrap it up.
That's a nice, meaningful last stop, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'd like to say that we planned it that way, but it was definitely, it just worked out that we're like, oh, look, it's National Women's Equality Day. And Jenny was like, interesting, because I was thinking we should stop at these sites. And I was like, that sounds fantastic. Let's do it.
Well, that's awesome. And so then you made it home, and then you got the wonderful opportunity take a COVID test.
I did. It worked out / didn't work out, I guess, that so they have just installed a new drive-through testing site in Kittery, Maine at the Maine Welcome Center, the rest stop there off 95. I booked an appointment for the day I got back, went and got tested. The only thing is, and this is another complaint about the way our country is handling this situation, is that we're 6-7 months into this thing, and our system for testing is still so so behind where it needs to be. I guess so I got tested on Thursday at noon, and then it was like, you'll get your results in 72 hours, which is already like, oh boy, I got to lay low and not talk to anybody, wear a mask if I go through any common spaces for the next 3 days. And of course the third day ended up being Sunday. Turns out the COVID testing center people take the day off on Sunday. So that meant I now had to wait till Monday, and actually sent them an email Monday morning. I was just like, can I go see, can I look people in the eye now? Or am I still banished to the basement? And, and their email response back was like, we send it off to the Maine lab. I can't remember the exact.
Globochem.
Whatever. Yeah, Globochem.
Take it from me. I love you.
But they're like, it takes 3 business days. And so they're like, sorry about the 72-hour estimate. We're actually looking at a 4-day turnaround now. But they're like, you'll get your results tonight. And I did get them finally Monday night. I tested negative after... and that's the thing. Jenny and I, as I said, like we hosed down our hotel rooms with Lysol. We wore masks every time we rolled the window down for a toll booth. Every time we stopped to fill up gas, even when we were walking around the national parks, because obviously there are other visitors walking around, we wore our masks. When we were at the structure outside of Vegas, we wore our masks. So yeah, both of us took every precaution we could take while on the road, to the point where, like, if I was at like a rest stop and I walked by somebody not wearing a mask, or if I was in the men's room or something, I don't know if it does anything, if this is just psychological, but I was just holding my breath.
Yeah.
I was like,
passing out at the urinal.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I hope I can get in and out of here, like do what I need to do and wash my hands on one breath, because I'm not breathing in here.
Right. Well, with you safely at home and tested negative, right?
Yes, and both of us did. And I guess just, my complaint about the system at large as far as testing is like, if you're somebody who works, or you're a teacher or something like that, how many people are you going to potentially come into contact with over the 4-day turnaround time that it takes to get your results?
I have had experience with that in my family. Yep.
And if you test positive, then all of a sudden you got to figure out a way to alert all of those people that you came into contact with. And like, I don't know what our state contact tracing looks like. I know our national contact tracing is pretty much non-existent.
We're not so bad here in Maine. We're doing pretty well with that. Yeah. So now with you at home and negatively tested, which was, you were quarantining until which point you were tested negative, which is the responsible thing to do. So thank you. I feel like you did this as responsibly as you can and still do it. Well, right.
As I said earlier, like I take it personal when other people don't take it serious, because I just want to get back to work.
Yeah.
So I also feel like it's my duty to do everything that I can possibly do if I feel like I probably came into contact with somebody who tested positive during this trip.
Oh, sure.
And so, yeah.
Because you also are, you kiss people all the time.
Yeah.
It's like what you're known for.
As a stranger licker.
Oh, so gross. The worst Avenger.
That's not even a superpower. Why are you hanging out with us?
You're not even like Ant-Man bad. You're just gross.
We didn't even invite you. How did you get into the complex?
Stop licking my arm.
The security guard?
Yeah.
I feel like it's my responsibility to do everything in my power to like, if for some reason I do have it, to not spread it to anybody else.
Duh. Yeah, I get very, very frustrated. I've heard some language about beliefs, right, from people out of their own mouths, like not just on TV, and it's like, like the imposition of beliefs, and I'm thinking like, your beliefs are keeping me out of work, and if I can just be an American, middle-aged American worker right now, I would like to get back to it.
Yeah,
after you're done with your beliefs.
Dream of like the American dream of whatever, like, going from rags to riches and building your family and your small home and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's like, I don't even want that American dream anymore. I just want to work.
Just work. Can I get back to work and continue to work for the rest of my alive life, because retirement is like what? The whole, like, it's weird how, not to be incendiary on the show, but just that whole belief system now imposing on like what would normally be like, I feel like the tables would be turned in any other situation, like your beliefs are infringing upon like, I want to mine coal or something. It's like, well, like the environment and stuff. It's like, but I'm out of work now. It's like, this is like that. It's like,
Yeah.
there's millions of us out of work. Millions of people are out of work because of these jokers who won't take it seriously. And I'll just, without going off on one of my on-brand rants, just say that it really pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And that's that's what Zach Jones sounds like when he's mad. I can tell you that right now.
You've heard it right here.
All right, so I'm going to ask you for 3 grades because being my friend who's seen the most of America most recently, on regular school grades. Okay.
Okay.
What grade would you give as a place, the United States of America? As a place.
As a place right now?
No. America, the
general?
United States of America as a geographical place. The sites you've seen, what we have to offer, the land.
I mean, America is a beautiful country. I would give it an A+. We have so much to take in this enormous country.
Mm-hmm. And then how would you, now that you've seen not all 50 states and not even all 48 continental, but you drove through, I want to probably say at least 17 states? Ish?
Probably.
17 was a weird
ish.
number.
Yeah, I don't know.
At least 17 and a half states.
Yeah.
But so you've seen a cross section of the United States, certainly, right?
Yeah.
So how would you rate,
definitely,
on the same scale, Americans' participation in restoring America back to some sort of normalcy and less viral terror?
From what I saw on this trip, I would give us a D-.
D-. Now, would you give either of the coasts a higher letter grade?
I mean, if we're just talking like states, like Maine versus California,
Sure.
yeah, I feel like the California government is doing everything they can to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
They opened way too early, and they admitted that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are way too many people there. They should have known.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have the worst cases nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
I guess also based on the population.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to avoid, but I mean, Maine has been doing a great job. I mean, obviously we're a smaller state with a smaller population, but
So I guess where
Maine,
I was going was like the more populous areas that are forced to deal with it more because of more people.
Yeah.
Would you? Is it your? I'm kind of leading the witness here. Sorry, but like,
Okay,
is it
that's fine.
your opinion that like those places are taking it generally more seriously than places like kind of in the middle? And I'm not trying to like, I hate that term flyover states. I think it's like really,
I know what you mean.
really rude, but because there are humans that live there that have.
My experience is Los Angeles is taking it seriously. I mean, as I said, like I felt uncomfortable in the grocery store, but everybody in there was wearing a mask and trying to do their thing.
Right.
Also, testing is regularly available and fast turnaround. When I got tested in LA, there were multiple sites I could pick from that were like walking distance from my home. I chose the drive-through one at Dodger Stadium. But it was really quick, really easy, and less than 24 hours later, they texted me my results.
Great.
Versus here, I had to wait 4 days and like call an email before I got my results.
Well, I mean, unselfishly, I think that I'd prefer that if Maine or California had to have faster testing, I think they should have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But why not the whole country just have it?
Oh, no. Okay, so that leads me to my third grade. Not my third grade experience in school, but the third grade I'm going to ask you for is how would you, now having seen America, rate with your own eyes and your own opinion, America's governmental response to COVID-19?
Oh, it's an F. It's an easy F. Yeah, I mean, yeah, failed so hard on it. Like, we can't even get the messaging straight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to the point that that I saw toll booth workers in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with no plexiglass in front of their station, no masks, just taking, you know, money from every single car that drove through. Who knows where they came from? It's like, that's just, that's a drive-through get COVID. You know, it's awful. Like,
Indiana,
if you can't even
they're sneaky. That's a sneaky state.
But if you can't even communicate that message to the people that are coming into contact with travelers, you know, every minute they're coming in contact with another traveler from who knows where, and they can't even follow like the basic instructions of how to beat this. We fail. Like, it's our current government has done an absolutely terrible failure of a job.
So to summarize, in conclusion, Zach, you give the United States, the land of the United States of America, an A+. You give citizen participation in public safety a D-, and governmental response a hard F.
That's correct.
All right. Well, there you go.
There we are.
Yeah, that's not on CNN. It's not partisan. That's the opinion of one person who just saw it all. Right?
Yep. And now I will continue to just look at the walls of this basement.
I know.
For the next year.
Yeah, it's amazing how obviously I can picture still what you look like, but how much time you and I have spent together doing this show and how little of it, almost none of it, save for like 15 minutes of it, have been in person, maybe a half an hour. I'm thankful for it.
Same.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been like maybe a collective over like the 3 times I've seen you since being back. It might add up to a half hour.
Maybe. Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But so yeah, if everyone could kind of, wear their mask and keep some distance and be smart about it, Zach and I would surely like to get back to work.
Yeah, because I just want to play rock and roll for you, the people. That's all.
Or just want to play it to an empty room that you're allowed to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to leave it up to you to decide whether you ignore my invite to my show or not.
Yeah, we've experienced so many years of voluntarily empty rooms. We just want to get back to that. Oh, all right. Well, I'm glad you're home, and I'm glad you're safe, and I am looking forward to next week's program.
As am I.
Quite a bit.
Yes.
All right. Bye, dude.
Bye. It was good to talk to you as always. I love you.
Hey, and I love you. It's time for Happy Hour, presented by Maine Spirits. It's fall. Well, it's fallish. It's becoming fall. It's close to fall. The weather's changing. So, in that spirit, perhaps our focus on drinks should be changing as we roll into the colder months. And maybe we should be looking at some whiskey cocktails, specifically rye whiskey, specifically Bullet Rye Hooski. So, we're going to learn how to make a Sazerac cocktail. This is a classic cocktail. It should be known how to be made by anybody who likes drinks in the vicinity of their face. Let's get our tools together. We're going to need a jigger, bar spoon, mixing glass, strainer, measuring spoon, chilled rocks glass, and a vegetable peeler. Veg peeler. For ingredients, we'll need the following: simple syrup, bullet rye, absinthe, Peychaud's bitters, and a lemon twist. Now let's build this thing. Combine 2 ounces of rye and 3 to 4 dashes of Peychaud's bitters and 1 teaspoon of simple syrup in a mixing glass and stir. Now, rinse your chilled rocks glass by adding a small splash of absinthe. Swirl the glass around and then dump the excess out. Now, pour the cocktail into your glass, no ice. Express the lemon twist so you see the little spritz come out, the mist, the oils. And then we're going to toss that out. So this drink has no ice and no garnish. Now let's take a sip. Reliable, crisp, yet kind of sweet. Lots of things going on. yet not too much going on. And it's a nice sippin' whiskey drink to ease into this fallish weather that we have. You can learn more about this and other cocktail recipes at mainspirits.com. You can follow them on Instagram at main_spirits, or you can download their app for your smartphone for all kinds of product ideas, availabilities, ingredient lists, what do you call those things? Recipes. That's the thing, recipes. How-tos and how-not-tos and all that. And the only thing that we ask of you, and we ask you this every week, is to drink deliciously and responsibly. Spencer and Zach Explore the Universe is brought to you by Maine Spirits, Bull Moose, State Theater Portland, Maine, Sun Tiki Studios, and the Maine Music Alliance. This show is a Mistakes Were Made production.